Hello students, welcome to Daily English Homework. Let's take a look at the homework. It says write 5 sentences using despite. Despite the fact that, in spite of, nevertheless, nonetheless. Confusing. Which one do I use? Well, it's not that confusing because a lot of them are synonyms and just a little bit grammar difference in how we use them. I'm going to talk about all of that in this video, and at the end of the video, you write the sentences, post them in the comments below. I will check them for free. I should mention that family vocabulary, these are all family, but this is also in the family. Although, though, even so, however, I'm not going to talk about these words in this video because I talked about these words in other videos. So these are all in the family, all in the same family, as they're very close and they're synonyms or close to being synonyms. But for this video, I'm just going to talk about these ones. Okay, despite. Used to show that something happened or is true, although something else might have happened to prevent it. All right, so despite, we have to understand that. So something happened, and there might be an expectation of a result, but actually it's a different result. Something like that is despite. So again, we're using although or though. It's a family word, synonym. So something happened, there's an expectation of a result, but that result might have been different, unexpected. Let's take a look at some example sentences to help you understand. He got food poisoning. So he ate some bad food, he got sick. He got food poisoning despite being careful what he ate. Okay. So first, he was careful what he ate. So the expectation is that he's healthy. He's going to be healthy. But we have an opposite result. He got sick. Although he was careful, he got sick. So this is how we're going to use despite. He got food poisoning despite doing something to prevent that. He got food poisoning despite being careful what he ate. Notice after despite, we're going to have verb ing. Not always, but very common. We're going to have that verb ing form. Let's take a look at another sentence. They passed the test despite not studying. So they passed the test. There's some expectation. Oh, they probably studied. No, the opposite here. They despite not studying, they didn't study and they passed the test. So we had an expectation here. We always think, okay, you study, you pass the test. So we're going to use despite to show this was not the fact. This is not what happened in this situation. They passed the test despite not studying. And there's the ing there. But here we have a noun phrase here. We enjoyed the festival despite the rain. So it was raining, so there was an expectation, oh, they're not going to enjoy themselves. But they want to say, although this was the situation, we enjoyed the festival despite the rain. I'm going to start a sentence here. Despite applying for hundreds of jobs, he is still unemployed. Okay. So he applied hundreds of jobs. It might be an expectation that he got a job. No. Despite applying for hundreds of jobs, he is still unemployed. So I'm changing the grammar of this sentence to put despite in the beginning. I could just start with he. He is still unemployed despite applying for hundreds of jobs. All right, we can move this sentence around. It has the same meaning. That is despite. So you got to make your own sentence. Let's look at despite the fact that, synonym means the same. So I use the same sentence. But the grammar is going to change. So he got food poisoning despite the fact that, and after you have despite the fact that, you're going to have your subject pronoun here, he. He got food poisoning despite the fact that he was careful what he ate. Means the same thing as despite. So he got food poisoning despite that he was careful what he ate. He is still rich despite the fact that he spends a lot of money. So he spends a lot of money. Our expectation, he's not so rich anymore. No, he's still rich despite the fact that he spends a lot of money. All right, let's move on. In spite of, synonym. Despite the pain in his leg, he completed the marathon. So he's running a marathon. He got the pain in the leg, so there's an expectation he cannot compete. But despite the pain in his leg, he was able to complete the marathon. And I'm going to start in spite of. In spite of, I like it better at the beginning of a sentence. You could put in spite of in the middle, but it's a good. I like despite and in spite of at the beginning of the sentence, but it's up to you. They can work in the middle. It's your own preference. But let's take a look. It means the same thing. In spite of the pain in his leg, he completed the marathon. So you could say he completed the marathon in spite of the pain in his leg. But if you do start at the beginning, always we need that comma. Nevertheless, nonetheless. And you're going to see this is the big one here. I'm going to put them together. So this is actually 4 and 5. I put them together because they are absolute synonyms. They mean exactly the same thing. Nevertheless, nonetheless, adverbs. And they mean to despite something. So we're going to focus more on an overall action. And you'll understand when we get to the examples. To despite something that you have just mentioned. Nevertheless or nonetheless is used for contrasting the second point with the first point. I think all of these words are used for contrasting this comment and this comment. They don't match. They're kind of opposite. Let's look at our first example. The product didn't sell well. But despite that, all right, I'm using despite, but I'm putting that. Despite that means that situation. Despite this comment, it was a success. So the product didn't sell well, but despite that, it was a success. So it didn't sell well, the expectation, it was not a success. But despite that situation, it was a success. So let's stick in nevertheless. The product didn't sell well this year. What? Here. Let's take out this year. Because the first sentence didn't use this year. I want the sentences to be the same. The product didn't sell well, but nevertheless, it was a success. So despite that and nevertheless is the same. The product didn't sell well, but despite that, it was a success. The product didn't sell well, but nevertheless, it was a success. And the product didn't sell well. Fix that up. But nonetheless, I told you, nevertheless, nonetheless means the same. So despite that, nevertheless, nonetheless means the same thing. The product didn't sell well, but nonetheless, It was a success. Be careful with nevertheless and nonetheless, because there's actually 3 words there. Never, the, less, none, the, less. But it's always one word. Never put a space between these words. Never, never. It's nevertheless, nonetheless. There is little chance that we will succeed in changing the law. Despite this, it is important that we continue to try. All right, so there is little chance that we will succeed in changing the law. We want to change the law, but there's little chance. There's no chance. So the expectation is we can't change the law. But despite this situation, this comment here, it is important that we continue to try. So up here it was despite that. Here it's despite this. Again, we can insert nevertheless, nonetheless. There's little chance that we will succeed in changing the law. Nevertheless, it is important that we continue to try. There's a little chance that we'll succeed in changing the law. Nonetheless, it is important that we continue to try. I already understand the lesson, but it is still interesting despite that. All right. So despite that, this situation right here, although I already understand, I have a contrasting opinion, because I already understand the lesson. Expectation, it's boring, but it is still interesting despite I already understand. I already understand the lesson, but it is still interesting nevertheless. At the end, I already understand the lesson, but it is still interesting nonetheless at the end. Okay, so up here we can begin a sentence, and of course we can end the sentence. All right, that brings us to the homework. Write 5 sentences. Here, let's fix that. From 1. Number 1, despite. Number 2, despite the fact that. 3, in spite of. 4, nevertheless. 5, nonetheless. That's your homework. So write the sentences, post them in the comments. Of course, check your grammar, spelling. Do not send me something with a spelling mistake. Google Docs, MS Word, they will help. They're not perfect. Try to write about yourself. Be sincere and serious. I am very sincere and serious about improving your English and checking your homework. I'm giving my time to you, so you please spend time to do excellent homework. Post it in the comments section. And of course, use the WhatsApp group. You can find the WhatsApp group below this video. Come into the WhatsApp group. Practice your pronunciation. All right, that's the video. Thank you for watching, and please do your homework.